Hi everyone. Dementia units are isolating by their very nature, 24/7 secure, often relegated the farthest back location in the dementia village, and geographically isolated. They're also socially isolated. Often people may visit, friends and family may visit for the first couple of weeks, and then they isolate themselves, whether through fear, prejudice, lack of effort, procrastination, whatever the reason may be. People stop visiting, and it becomes very isolating both for the unit and for residents themselves when that happens. But it needn't be the case. I mean, so many positive practical things can be done for people with dementia. It's not a hopeless situation. There needn't be fear. It's not, you can't catch it. It's not a virus. But really, if these people are supported emotionally, physically, psychologically and intellectually, a lot can be done. So just to give you some examples of the positive practical techniques, just an overview of what can be done, and this all helps reduce social isolation when people can see that something progressive can happen, that it's not a lost cause, so to speak. So really it's all aspects that really need to be addressed actually, and it is a big subject, but once there's understanding and education and one realizes which aspects need to be worked on, because everyone's an individual, of course. Everyone's cognitive capacity, physical capacity, emotional capacity, intellectual capacity is utterly and entirely different. So you really need to upskill, learn and educate yourself about that with the person. I mean, if you know them, if they're your mother or father, of course you understand it to a certain degree, but still upgrading the education, upgrading your knowledge in terms of their clinical conditions, their diagnoses, their medication, reading their clinical notes, all of that needs to be studied and learned and imbibed so you can help them physically. But socially, for dementia residents, positive socialisation is always going to help. A positive, friendly, kind visit from a friend or a family member, having a cup of tea in a social happy chat will always uplift spirits. And in terms of intellectually, bringing in magazines, reading from the newspaper, bringing in the photo album, bringing in the news of what's happening, making it a newsworthy visit. It's good, it's interesting, it makes it interesting for you delivering the news, because it's always good to upskill, and for the resident themselves, and that will get all the cognition going. Emotionally, when there's that warmth and sincerity and you're genuinely happy to see the person, that will always engage. I mean, dementia residents can still think, they can still feel, they can still understand, they just can't remember. It's their memory that's gone. That's the thing that's lost and has to be worked around. But emotionally, they're right there. They will feel if you're, happy to see them, and that will garner positivity and happiness within their spirits as well. And this reduces isolation. It all reduces isolation when there's friendly, positive visits from friends and family to people in dementia facilities. In terms of reducing the stigma and prejudice, it's a hard one really, because so much is based around fear and ignorance. There's still really a low social awareness of dementia in the community, even amongst highly educated people, even not just to residents, but also to staff. I mean, I found that people would make crass jokes to me when they found out I worked at a dementia facility. And so if I'm getting that experience, how will it be if you've actually got dementia? So it's all about, a lot of it's about education and upskilling and taking an interest in dementia. For some reason, there's such a stigma with dementia, and people don't, because of that, and a prejudice with it, because of that, people aren't interested in learning about it. When really, it's a very interesting area. Everything's covered under the umbrella of dementia. I mean, you learn so much when you go into this subject. I mean, it's about life skills. It's about life itself, isn't it? I mean, and also another area within it is that we all know that it's, you know, in society today, prejudice and stigma has been reduced so much. I mean, you can't socially be prejudiced or against culture, race, religion anymore. You know, that's untenable. I mean, you know, it's not socially acceptable to have prejudice and stigma towards people of other cultures or other races or other religions. But somehow, even with dementia, I mean, these people, it's not another culture or another religion or another race. They're our people, our religion, our race, our families, the heart of our families, our parents that are getting dementia. So how could we possibly have a prejudice or stigma towards that, towards our parents, just because they're losing their memory? I mean, it's a profound weakness in our own character if we have prejudice and stigma towards dementia. You know, I mean, when it involves our parents at the heart of our family, if we can't discern that that's a problem, you know, that's a profound weakness, isn't it? And the problem being that it's so rife within our whole society, this prejudice and stigma, it really needs to be looked at seriously. I mean, you know, the Me Too movement, Black Lives Matter have managed to turn the tide on prejudice and stigma, but to a certain extent, thankfully. But with dementia, unfortunately, these people don't have a voice the same as other groups, because they're silenced in many ways. They lose confidence, they're sometimes too much medication, you know, they withdraw into their dementia cave. They haven't got authority anymore because the power of attorney's got their authority over their finances and decision-making capacity for their lives. So all of these things, you know, silence their voice. And when they do speak up, often, as they say, they're interrupted or not heard. So it makes it difficult for them to say what they want and what they need and what they appreciate, and, you know, and so that's why I've written these two books on behalf of the dementia residents, the residents' voice and the residents' rise, so they can have a voice and their voice can be heard and their needs and wishes, you know, to be informed, to be educated, to get the news, to get the newspaper, to have activities that are stimulating and intellectually challenging. You know, they're small wishes a lot of the time. It's not earth-shattering stuff, but it makes an enormous difference for their quality of life, for them to be able to manage, you know, for the rest of their lives in a dementia unit. Hopefully this will change. I mean, it has to change. Every group in the world, you know, has been able to get some sense of recognition, fairness and justice. And the dementia community, of course, deserve prisons, like at prisons. You know, they get an hour's exercise outside every day, you know, but dementia residents, some stay inside for 6 months at a time, not even having seen sunlight. So, you know, I mean, yeah, it's the last bastion, really, the last post of, you know, justice in our civil society. Tables will need to turn, and I'm sure they will. It's just that the voice needs to get out on behalf of these people, you know, so that they're not so invisible. And then I'm sure once people get to know what's actually happening and how, with our efforts and our interest in becoming educated and interested and involved and helping, you know, I mean, most of us in our friends and family in our circle will have one person affected by dementia, and if we can learn from them, you know, we can talk to them, learn from them, ask them questions, help them, ask them how we can help them. And, you know, this is the way that we learn and can become involved in this condition, which is, you know, exponentially affecting our community, as we know. So thank you for your looks and your likes, and thank you for buying these books. I'm noting on Amazon that the sales are happening. So whoever's read these books, thank you. And please give me feedback if you can. I'd really appreciate that. and thank you for your comments and likes and support.